hold on tight. The champ is here. Mikey is raising the roof. He is loving it.
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be real. I'm excited to be real today. Mikey, Renault, explain yourself.
I don't hate Russell Wilson.
Todd hates T.Y. Hilton. I know why he likes Nick Foles. Do you know why? Because he scored 55 points against them in the championship game last year.
Running backs in Andy Reid's system is just fantasy gold mine. Sign me up there, man.
Yeah, and he's passing for 1,000 too, because his offensive weapons are shit.
Maybe. Oh my God, I can't even believe this, Eric. Todd comes out with some outlandish shit.
Come on.
But that one wins the night.
You deserve the torture of watching those games if you get them.
There's a problem with all those names. None of those guys are good.
Exactly. That's my point. That is 100% my point.
Hey. All I'm saying. Hey, I'm a very unique individual. You know, that's the.
I'm sure all the owners think so.
Oh man. Just when I think that they're out, they pull me back in.
By the time you hear this podcast, will be less than 24 hours from the 19th MHA draft, and we're bringing you some last-minute fantasy advice before the big night. What's up, fellas? Are you ready for draft night?
Hell yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you?
My pen exploded, so I guess that's not
You're
good.
off to a bad start.
Yeah.
You know, everywhere.
12, 14, right around that.
12 and 14.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
That's how you feel that good about it.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm like at a 7 or 8. I still have some. I mean, I think I know my first pick is going to be, but we'll.
How could you know?
Who I think
Has he talked to every owner and asked them what their pick's going to be?
Unless Allen, who has the number 1 pick, takes him just because he's not sure. Taking Christian McCaffrey, then I think the player I want will still be there at 7 for me.
Interesting.
So,
all right. So Todd's at 12 out of 10. How are you feeling, Miguel?
I'm a 2 today, but I'm hoping to be better tomorrow.
I always feel like we're on like the same plane where it's while we do a lot of research, we just never feel like we're ready. I don't feel like I'm ready. I'm probably into 3 or 4. Like I feel good about the early rounds. It's the later rounds that I probably need to do more research on and. So we'll kind of figure things out there. We'll give you some updated news. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this past week with the NFL season right around the corner. So we'll bring you all kinds of good stuff to get ready for the draft. We're going to do some mocking. How about some mock drafts? 2 rounds of mock drafts. So 2 nights. I mean, I don't know how many people will listen to this podcast in the next 2 days, but they're going to get a lot of good information in terms of who we think should be drafted in the first 2 rounds and maybe where. So owners should definitely pay attention and listen in to this podcast. Obviously, we'll talk about some tight ends, and I know not everybody gets excited about tight ends, but they're a position we need on the roster, and you got to get those points somehow. So why don't you listen in and figure out who the top tight ends are, and we'll have some bold predictions. I always like doing bold predictions because you never know what we're going to say or what could happen. And hopefully we have some decent reasoning behind it. I don't know if that's such thing with bold predictions, but
yeah, it's probably not. I'm probably gonna just like my Patrick Mahomes last year, 50 touchdowns and 20 rushing touchdowns. So it's go big or go home.
Was that a bold prediction or was that a regular prediction?
I think that was regular.
I think that was a regular prediction.
that was a Todd Diamond prediction.
There you go. There's a regular prediction, a bold prediction, and a Todd Diamond prediction.
And those predictions, that's way off the spectrum a little bit.
That's a little nutty for sure.
So.
Well, let's get into some news.
To me, the most amazing thing about the news is that whatever goes on in the world, it exactly fits the number of pages that they're using in the paper that day. Interesting concept.
Okay.
Obviously, one of the bigger news that took place was the release or the cut of Jaguars running back Leonard Fournette, who the early hours of Monday morning, we all woke up. At least I look at my Twitter feed. That's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, see what's going on, and Leonard Fournette was released. He spent the last 3 seasons with the Jaguars. It was quite the tumultuous time. They tried trading him in the offseason. That didn't work, and we're only a week or so away from the season, and then they release him. And then on Wednesday night, we see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed the former Jag to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. What a week for the former LSU Tiger. He gets dropped from the worst team in the league, and if you listen to this podcast, according to Mikey and Todd, to the best team in the league in Tampa Bay. So how are you guys feeling about Leonard Fournette? Did you raise him in your rankings, Mikey?
No, I lowered him.
You lowered him? He's on a great team now.
True, but I think the situation's a little sketchy.
Sketchy?
Yeah, like
You worried about Ronald Jones that much?
no, it's more so that it's a passing team that he's going to. I heard Bruce Arians say yesterday that Rojo's still our guy.
Ugh.
He's got a leg up given – I don't believe him, by the way.
Yeah, that's some bullshit right there.
When he says it, I think that he means for week 1. He's our guy for week 1, even though he didn't say that. But right now you don't really know what the situation is. You know, Ronald Jones has been there for all of training camp, so I expect him to be the guy first thing out of the gates. I think Fournette can eventually take that over, but they also kind of, for a passing team, they have Ogunbowale, who's the receiving back. They got the rookie running back in Vaughn. So I don't feel comfortable taking Leonard Fournette early, not knowing their situation and how they're going to use him. It's a little bit scary to me. So if just me personally, I wouldn't take him anywhere in the top 3 rounds.
Okay. Now, you initially had him pretty high.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have your running back rankings in front of you, but do you know about like which running backs you have around him?
No, I don't have them up. But
yeah, I don't have mine either, so not a big deal. I just didn't know if you know the top of your head.
I mean, the rankings.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Who would you rather have, Leonard Fournette or Marlon Mack?
Ooh.
I think that's where the range is. That's kind of where I have him, is in that range. So it's
in that scenario, I think I would take Fournette.
Okay. How about, and both you guys can answer this. Would you take Leonard Fournette or?
I have my rankings up.
Oh, well,
all right.
Spew them off, buddy boy. What
all
you
right.
got?
So I actually have Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones 21 and 22. So but the running backs I have around Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Le'Veon Bell.
Ooh, so you have him a little higher than maybe the rest of us do. So you feel good that he's going to a contender. Contender.
At least that because the thing is, they keep saying the boxes aren't going to be stacked. He's not going to have to worry about a stacked box every single game like it was in Jacksonville. So I think that helps a little bit. But Le'Veon Bell or James Conner,
I didn't ask, but
I know. But
between those two, well, I mean, unless you're going to say Fournette or Conner.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's
I thought you were going between.
No.
Okay.
I was saying either Fournette, James Conner, or Le'Veon Bell. I'd actually take maybe Le'Veon Bell.
Right. The problem I have is Fournette was a guy that he had 295 some odd carries last year with a team that was looking more to run than pass. Now he's going into a situation where this team is definitely more pass than run.
Okay.
And there's more bodies. Like in Jacksonville, you never, ever had to worry about Fournette not being that guy.
No.
And now you know he's probably not going to be a 3-down workhorse in this system.
But do you think he gets the majority of the goal line carries?
That is definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Interesting. Just a quick note in terms of Jacksonville. I mean, how bad does it make them? Are you worried about DJ Shark and Gordon Minshew, if you cared about him at all? But I mean, in terms of their stock, I mean, does this make them the worst team in the league now?
Pretty much. I mean, they're predicted to lose every single game this season. So losing Fournette, I think, was just I think that was the final little dagger for their season. So it's lose for Trevor. So, but
I don't know how many people had Gardner Minshew stock, but maybe there's
I just have to ask the question.
League that did. I don't know if it hurts DJ Chark as much. I mean, he's still the number one guy there. They're going to be down in a lot of games. They're still going to have to throw. They're not in as good a situation in the running game, so maybe they throw more. So maybe it helps a little bit.
Maybe, but I mean, in terms of trying to be honest defensively, can you name who's the new starting running back in Jacksonville? Raekwon Armstead.
Yeah, Armstead. Chris Thompson's there.
Oh, that's right, Chris Thompson.
But Armstead, I saw today, I think was put on the COVID list. I think.
Oh, really?
Stay
away from all Jaguars. I definitely lowered DJ Chark because he was a guy I was high on, and now I think it's going to make it more difficult with him out.
What about is D.D. Westbrook still there? Because he's the other one.
He's been hurt in camp though, so that's not good for them either.
Okay.
They had Laviska Shenault was their pick out of CU, so he's there.
Chris Conley's there.
Oh yeah, I forgot it.
Tyler Eifert, if that makes a difference.
Oh God.
It doesn't.
No, that's.
But it's the tight end show.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, but
I don't believe I ranked him though. So
I ranked him, but I don't think we're going to talk to him. Let's keep the news going here. Another piece of interesting news, piece of interesting news is how about Cam Newton being named the starter in New England? You're welcome. Glad I was right on this. This is a good start to my fantasy
Look,
season.
maybe that was just a bold call
Yeah,
on my end of him not being a starter.
And I'll ask this again,
Yeah.
but now, do you consider him now a lottery pick? Or not a lottery pick, but a lottery ticket? A guy that you can draft later, maybe even as a backup. Most teams in our league draft backups, so they pick him up, and New England ends up being that offensive threat that we've always seen the last 10, 15 years?
No.
No?
No, not even close.
I don't. Like, Carolina, he at least had, like, a little bit help here and there. Like, New England's offense, like, I mean, they just cut Mohamed Sanu.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean.
Breaking news.
So yeah, I mean, that's them losing another guy. They don't have any weapons. He's going to have to do a lot of it on his own, and I still think that this is a team that's going to be built on their defense. So, I mean, he's competent. He'll be a guy that you can draft and feel comfortable playing, I guess. But lottery ticket?
Comfortable, I guess.
Lottery ticket? That lottery ticket's like guy that
he could finish in the top 10.
Right.
That's what a lottery ticket would mean.
And that's going to get 50 to 60 every week.
Yeah,
And who knows? Maybe he'll have to. I don't know.
Yeah, because
all I know is Julian Edelman's going to be his Christian McCaffrey.
that or James.
I like him better than James White.
You like him better than James White?
I just don't think Cam's accurate enough to be able to
Well, I
throw
mean, all you
over the
do is-
middle of the field to a guy like that.
Well, N'Keal Harry's going to have to be there. They're really banking on
Well,
him.
yeah, if Sanu is gone. That's so interesting.
Cam,
I didn't know
Cam
that.
throws the ball like the Thor a hammer, you know.
He does like to fling it. All right, let's keep going with the news. Some news that came through this Friday morning. Adrian Peterson has been cut, guys. That was the guy that, at least I said, was going to be the majority of the ball carrier and get most of the points at the running back position. That is wrong. He has been cut. We haven't heard anything as of this Friday. What is it, September the 4th? So does it make Antonio Gibson any more exciting, exhilarating? I mean, are you gonna think about drafting him late in the rounds?
I think so. Like if he's going to be more part of it, then yeah. I mean, he looks like he's a dude that can catch passes too. I mean, it's a bad offense.
Yeah.
So I'm not excited about that, but I wish Peterson well in his future endeavors. Maybe XFL.
We'll have to wait and see if he goes. So keep up on the news the next couple days before draft day at least. Bryce Love has been getting a lot of love, and I only know the name Bryce Love because I was in that Danner league. I only remember his name because I was in a league that you actually had to draft college guys, and I had him as a college guy. He was with Stanford, right? And he was a good player. So I mean, he was like a Heisman Trophy candidate,
finalist.
So take that for what it's worth. I hear his name coming up every now and again. Alvin Kamara has yet to return to practice. Contract dispute. I don't know if he practiced today, so I apologize if I got that wrong. Are we worried with the draft just a couple of days about a contract not having signed by Sunday night? Are you going to drop him in your rankings? I don't know if anybody here has that opportunity, but are you guys worried?
I mean, Kamara is probably going to already be gone by the time it gets to me anyway.
But what if he's not?
But if he's not,
are you concerned?
A little bit. Just a little bit, because knowing he could really just pull the COVID card. Like, listen,
the COVID card.
Yeah, basically saying like I'm just gonna sit out for the season, whether he wants to get paid or not. So he could do that, and most everybody would be like, well, okay, he's doing it because his family, whatever the case may be. But the underline would be he's just pissed because they're not paying him.
In your rankings, I know, Mike, you're going to say something. Yeah. In your rankings, where do you have Kamara right now?
I have him number 4 right now.
Who's number 5?
Aaron Jones.
So, wow, goodness, all right. So if the draft comes up and Kamara's there, are you still taking Kamara with this news, or are you going to jump to Aaron Jones?
Oh, Aaron Jones.
Wow, really? Okay, so that you are nervous about it. All right, what do you think, Miguel?
I'm not. I heard news today that he went back to practice, that they're closer on a deal, and that him and Sean Payton are kind of working it out. So
I should have let you talk way early before I came up with this news.
Yeah, but I'm still picking Aaron Jones.
So it sounds like Kamara's putting his trust that they're going to get him done at some point here shortly, and hopefully they do. But Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any worries. He's still good, an explosive player and an explosive offense. So
Maybe the breaking news here is that Todd's going to take Aaron Jones in the first round. Maybe that's the breaking news right there. Oh my goodness, that's
he loves his guys.
That's wild. He's loyal to his guys in the first round. Whew. All right, maybe we'll talk about it later.
All right.
There's a lot of news, and I'll get it through. I'll go through these pretty quickly. Dwayne Haskins has been announced as the starting gunslinger. Should people draft him as a backup? Yes or no?
No. Not even freaking close.
No.
Say it.
No.
Josh Gordon is now a Seahawk. Hooray! We hear this all the time with that. Josh Gordon is so good that people still keep giving him 9, 10, 11 chances. The league is still waiting to decide on his future. He has signed with Seattle. However, there still could be, he applied for reinstatement. So there still could be suspensions coming. So keep an eye on that. Any one of you guys going to take Josh Gordon as a late round pick, as a lottery ticket?
Not on my board.
Yeah, I went down that road. I didn't know. No.
Last year, he played for New England and Seattle. He had 7 catches, 139 yards in 5 games with Seattle, 6 games with New England, 20 receptions, 287 yards, and a touchdown. All right, let's keep going here. Let's get ready for some MHA trivia.
Yeah.
All right, Brain. You don't like me and I don't like you. But let's just do this and I can get back to killing you with beer. It's a deal.
The last one before the draft. You guys prepared for this? You know it's about tight ends, right?
Probably not.
You guys
but
didn't do your homework. Oh, my gosh, you guys suck.
Okay,
Okay, so let's talk a little Travis Kelce.
All right.
Was he the number 1 overall tight end in points scored in our system last year?
No.
Yes.
It is. He was. Let's try that again. Yes, Mikey is correct. He was. He had 186 points. Who was Travis Kelce the number 1 overall tight end in 2018?
I'll say yes on this one.
I feel like you're trying to trick me, and I don't like it.
I'm just asking a fact question. That's all.
Gonna say yes.
You are correct. Well done. So Mikey's still up 2-1. He had 220 points in 2018. Ertz was in second place with 214. He did not have 214 last year, that SOB. In 2017, was Travis Kelce the number 1 overall tight end in our scoring system, Mikey?
I feel like you're leading me to something here. I'm gonna say yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Both of you are correct. Well done. He had 173 points. Gronk was second with 167. 2016 was Travis Kelce the number 1 overall tight end in our scoring system.
No.
You didn't say we'd have to go back to ancient history.
This is more for the audience than it is for you guys.
All right.
Just answer the question.
I'll give Todd a chance. So he said no. I'll say yes.
Mikey's correct again. 162 points. Kyle Rudolph was in second place with 159. In 2015, was Travis Kelce the number 1 overall scoring tight end in our league?
No.
I'll say no, too.
That is correct. Well done, guys. Jordan Reed was the number 1 tight end. He had 190 points. Gronk was second with 189 points. Travis Kelce was 8th, and I had him that year, 138 points. In 2014, was Travis Kelce the number 1 scoring tight end in our league?
No.
No.
Both of you were correct. It was Gronk. He had 203 points. Jimmy Graham was second, 178. And Kelce, I said Kelce this year. I haven't had Kelce since these years. But he was 7th with 131 points. How about in 2013?
No.
No.
All right, he didn't play that year, so well done. But in 4 consecutive years, dating back to 2016, he's been the number 1 tight end. So that leads me to my question. Will he be the number 1 tight end, or should he be the number 1 tight end in our league this year? Go. Mikey, go.
No, I don't have him number 1 on my.
Whoa! And we're off. Yeah, we were wondering if you were going to say some outlandish.
I mean,
but obviously the question is,
yeah.
on the actual sheet here, is it Travis Kelce or is George Kittle overtake him? Are you saying George Kittle is going to overtake him in points?
Yeah, I have Kittle as my number 1.
All right, tell me why.
Just kind of going through, Kelce, of all the tight ends that I ranked, faces the toughest schedule of defenses versus the tight end, at least by our Yahoo standards coming in this year. I was kind of surprised when I looked at that.
That's a good stat.
Yeah. The schedule of that he has gives up 9.05 points per tight end, which was the lowest of all the tight ends I ranked. Kittle has one of the best. It's over
Okay.
10 points.
I like that.
So, yeah, I just think another year in the Shanahan offense for Kittle. Clyde Edwards-Helaire being there gives Kansas City that extra weapon. So maybe it shaves off a little volume there. That being said, Kelsey could easily make it up because he wasn't like a big touchdown guy last year. I think he maybe had like 5 or something. So, I mean, he can gain that. I think maybe if he gains some touchdowns, he may have less receptions, less yards. But I have it close, like really, really close. But I have Kittle just a notch above him.
Interesting. Todd, I think you were shaking your head yes, saying that Kelsey's the number 1 tight end. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I mean the fact that Kansas City has one of the best offenses in the league, and the fact that there's so many mouths to feed, and yet Kelsey still puts up big numbers. That's that does it for me. And then I'll say this because I have Kelsey 1 and Kittle 2, so just flip flop. But I'll say 1. And obviously, maybe when we get to the next 3 tight ends, but Mark Andrews. But when we get to that part, because I have him 3rd, but he might be like a dark horse that could possibly leap maybe George Kittle and Travis Kelce to some degree. I mean, I think Kelsey's still probably going to be the number 1 tight end scoring at the end of the season, but look out for Mark Andrews. But when we get to that point,
Was Mark Andrews on your team last year?
sure was.
Yeah, sure was. I bet it was. But where should owners feel comfortable drafting a tight end? Is it at the end of the first round? Is it in the middle of the second? Should they even wait to the 3rd or 4th rounds? What do you guys think? Though Kittle and Kelsey, all the stuff that you just mentioned about it, how high should they go, if at all?
I'd say maybe the 4th round for a tight end. Now
Now, is that your philosophy or where Kittle and Kelsey should go?
that's more of my philosophy of the 4th round, that I feel comfortable drafting a tight end, because at least the first 3 rounds I've got my core, either 2 running backs or 2 wide receivers. I got they can make up a good majority of the points. And in the 4th round, if there's good value, that's where I'm going to get a tight end. Because at the end of the day, the tight end that you draft usually may not be the tight end that you finish the season with. And if that's the case, then if you went too early on a tight end, like you said, missing out like on maybe on a Julio Jones or I don't know, Aaron Jones or whatever the case may be, because you wanted a tight end and that tight end doesn't end up scoring enough points for you, you wasted a draft pick that you could have just waited later down in the rounds, and then just got a decent tight end that maybe could just help you through the rest of the way. Because let's put it this way, Mark Andrews last year, I got him off waivers. I drafted Kyle Rudolph, I think, last year as my tight end. He lasted one game. Picked up Mark Andrews, and you can find decent tight ends off the waiver wire too as well. So trying to go for the top guys, that's great, but sometimes you don't always have to do that. If you don't feel, if you're thinking, okay, Travis Kelce or George Kittle are there, great, but if not, you can still find a decent tight end. And like I said, Mark Andrews finished in the top 5 last year. So there you go.
Mike, you got a grin from ear to ear.
Oh, God.
I take issue with everything he said there.
Well, I mean,
I really do.
All right.
So saying that, you can't draft a tight end that high because the tight end you draft may not be the tight end you finish with. That's any position. Wide receiver, running back. I mean, anybody could get hurt. I mean, and the second part about taking Andrews and free agency, well, let me tell you something. People that strike oil don't usually go back and strike oil again, or they don't get the winning Powerball ticket twice. At least I've never heard of that. So sometimes you just get lucky on that stuff.
So he's saying you got lucky with Mark Andrews.
That is not a strategy.
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, you have to have a lot of luck in fantasy too. So
you do, but it's not. Luck is not a strategy. Luck is just something that helps you along the way. For me, if it's one of those top tight ends, if you feel comfortable at the end of the first round, great. Go ahead and do it. I've got no problem at all doing it in the second or third round either. It's fine. It's just you're trying to find best value in those rounds.
Right.
If they're the best value, they're the best value.
You're not concerned about skipping over a Julio or an Eckler or I would say Aaron Jones, but Todd's going to draft him in the first round. But, I mean, you're not concerned about skipping over one of those guys and getting a tight end later, or is the value – because I see what Todd is saying in terms of, well, you may not end up with a tight end because there's tight ends aren't a great position. It's not a deep position. Tight ends do get hurt. We have owners in our league who draft backup tight ends because they're just not sure of what. I mean, they could draft in a Hayden Hurst and an Austin Hooper because they're not sure who's going to pan out. But in terms of, like Todd was saying, do you get that core first and then get them later, or do you feel like the Kittles and Kelseys are so valuable, then the next crew, if it's Mark Andrews or Zach Ertz or whoever?
Well, and that's why I played devil's advocate on this, because Aaron went and he drafted Travis Kelce way up there each of the last 2 years. He never, ever had to worry about, do I pick up a second tight end or anything. He had that consistency every week. It was just Kelce's in there. He won 2 titles in a row. There's something in a position of players where there is not a whole deep list of them. It pays off to have that guy that you just don't have to worry about while the other 11 teams in the league do.
Okay. Care to share with us your tight end strategy? What are you going to do this year? Are you going to keep that under wraps?
Based to being at number 6, I really don't think that I'm going to end up with Kelce. So, I have that in
Kittle
my
is your
head.
number 1 guy, right?
Right.
So what if Kittle? I mean, Kittle. There's a good chance he could be there in the second round.
There is, and he'd obviously be a guy I consider. But I will say this: weird things always happen in the MHA draft. Like, you go in with a plan and you think, this is how these picks are going to go up until my pick. And then something happens where you're just like, huh? And it just, everything kind of falls.
It shifts, yeah.
It shifts. You don't know. So I can't say that I would in the second round because, hey, what if a Julio fell to me in a round 2? And I'd be like, okay, now I want to take that.
So you're not going to target one of those guys. If they happen to fall in your rankings, you'll pick them up. But you're not hoping to get one. There's a lot of owners that'll say, well, you got Todd, right? Well, I want 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers in my first 2 rounds.
No, I think it's too tough to do that. I mean, because I think if you do that, then you're just setting yourself up because you may not get the guys that you specifically targeted, but then you're saying, well, I have to get a running back anyway, and then maybe you're overdrafting somebody.
So basically just like reaching for a position just because that position depth isn't as great.
Yeah, you're like reaching for reaching's sake. It doesn't make sense.
So we talked about Kelce. We talked about Kittle. Tell me who you guys have ranked as your next 3 tight ends. 'Cause I think that kind of ends up being a jumbled mess, at least of all the stuff that I've looked at. So, Todd, give me your next 3 tight ends.
Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, and Zach Ertz.
Okay, so obviously you're a big fan of Andrews. He was on your team last year. On a very high rushing team in Baltimore, but he had 10 touchdown receptions. You just expect the same from Andrews.
He was Lamar Jackson's number 1 target on that team last year. Always kind of looked for him in the red zone if they weren't running the ball, and I think he really Lamar Jackson, because let's face it, whether it's a rookie or obviously in Lamar Jackson's case, second year, tight ends are a quarterback's best friend because for the most part they're always dependable, especially in the red zone. I mean, unless you have like a Mike Evans or a Michael Thomas or something like that to throw to, then I think you go to I think in Mark Andrews' case that really helped Lamar Jackson. So I think Mark Andrews definitely can get close to it. Obviously, he was injured. He was injured for a few games last year too, as well. But I think this year, the stats I have for him: 70 catches, 930 yards receiving, and 12 touchdowns.
Wow! So adding 2 more touchdowns on there.
Yeah.
So you said Andrews number 3, Waller number 4, and who was number 5?
Zach Ertz. Sorry. Zach Ertz.
There you go.
Sorry.
Mikey, go ahead. Who do you have as your number 3, 4, and 5 tight ends?
Ertz, Hooper, and Evan Ingram.
So Ertz, let's talk about him a little bit. he was a guy, for someone who had him, he started off slow. Dallas Goedert, I don't want to say he got in the way, but I think they had to use Goddard because the wide receiver situation was so bad, or it's an injury plague. So he got a lot of stuff, a lot of targets, and some touchdowns. Was the number 2 tight end just a couple of years ago. So what do you like about Ertz? It's just kind of the same situation, I feel like.
Schedule looks really good when it comes to tight ends. They're already kind of having some injury issues. Jalen Rager's already out for them, their first-round pick. I think motivation is going to play a big factor for Ertz too. This offseason, Kittle got paid big-time money. Travis Kelce just got paid big-time money. Ertz is a free agent after this year and wants to be included in that. And so I don't know that Philadelphia would be willing to give him that contract, seeing as Goddard's kind of an up-and-coming guy. So for him, I think it's a big time to kind of keep doing what he's doing and put up those stats and earn his money, even if it's somewhere else.
Contract year.
Yep.
That's tough, man. They say it doesn't matter. It matters for sure. So you got Ertz, Hooper, and then who else?
Evan Ingram.
So one guy, and I'll just talk about a guy that I'm interested in because I have – what do I have here? I have Kelce, Kittle, Ertz, Waller, and Andrews. Now, I tried to look through this outside because I had him in a different league, and he was pretty incredible. A big part of the reason, and I don't know if Mikey read this on the Sharp information, but he was better when Renfrow was not in the mix. When Hunter Renfrow was in the mix, his numbers went down a little bit. He had 10-plus PPR points in just 2 of the final 8 games of the season, and that's when Renfrow was active. When Renfrow was not in the mix, he had 16.1 points per game, PPR points per game. When Renfrow was in, just under 10. But I don't know. He's just athletic. He can get up the field, and I understand that they have Ruggs now. Carr is such an accurate quarterback. He was one of the more accurate one. He had one of his more accurate seasons last year. Am I wrong to think that he could put up decent numbers? I mean, from what I've been seeing, there's not a lot of people that are up on Darren Waller, and I'm trying to separate myself for someone who had him in a different league and saw how productive he was. But I mean, he was so good, and in terms of the routes he ran, he was even above average from what I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, I have him 7th.
Okay.
He's another guy that I don't think the schedule is going to do him a lot of favors this year. You did mention something that was mentioned, that his PPR stats were down when Hunter Renfrow was playing.
Yeah.
They're also bringing in Henry Ruggs now, so it's another mouth to feed in that offense. What kind of – and this could be something that improves, but he didn't have very many touchdowns last year.
Yeah, just 3.
So –
There's 90 targets, man. And that might go down. But, yeah, you just see that from a tight end and a guy who's got his build, and he's kind of got his second outlook on life. And, you know, I'm trying to separate. I like him better than Andrews because I'm worried about Andrews' targets and his receptions. Like, I don't think any of us think Andrews is going to be over 70 receptions, where I think Waller can be over 80 receptions. But the touchdowns definitely favor Andrews.
So here's a funny thing with my rankings. I actually have him on a per-game basis finishing ahead of where he did last year, but maybe he's not finishing like where he did in the rankings last year because I think some of these other tight ends have a chance to be a lot better.
Okay. You guys want to give me some quick thoughts on – well, we haven't talked about Hooper. He's obviously he's in a new place. He doesn't have Matt Ryan and those 700 pass attempts, but they paid him a lot of money to be there. So what do we think about Austin Hooper now with the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield?
Well, where careers go to die.
So Todd doesn't like him.
No, I don't like him. I mean, he's going from Matt Ryan to Baker Mayfield, who at times can who looks like a top quarterback, but no, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
What do you think, Mikey?
I like him. I really think that this is the year that the Browns kind of turn some heads. And I know, I'll catch a lot of flack for that because it seems like they never do. But I honestly think that Kevin Stefanski's the right coaching hire. I like his offense. It's a kind of a more run-based West Coast type offense, runs a lot of play action. That's perfect for the tight end. I think he's still going to get a lot of red zone opportunities. So, I mean, I like him. That's why I kind of had him 4th in my rankings.
I had him 8th in the rankings, but I don't like him as much as the other situations. But 4 years, $42 million definitely says a lot. Let's just keep going down the list here. Tyler Higbee had an incredible end to the 2019 season. Where do you guys have him ranked, and what do you think about the tight end from the Rams?
I have him 9th. So I have him in the top 10. It's going to be interesting now just because obviously with the running back situation, because it changes a lot of things. So I think they're obviously going to pass a lot more. So I think he'll still be that red zone target for Jared Goff. But I mean, obviously I have him in the top 10. But I mean, he'll probably go later probably in the later rounds. He probably won't be one of the top tight ends that goes right away, even though the offense that he's in. So I'm kind of split between them because obviously he was really good toward the end of the season, but yeah, there's just too many mouths to feed there, and I don't think they spread it around as much in that offense.
Mikey, any thoughts?
I disagree with Todd. I've got him 8th. So, I mean, we're close on rankings, but I disagree just with your last point that, there's too many mouths to feed. They lost Todd Gurley. They lost Brandon Cooks. And I think they kind of found last year at the end what was working for them, which was maybe not playing as much 3 receivers and utilizing the tight end. And, right now with no Cooks, Higbee's probably their 3rd best receiver. I mean, Josh Reynolds is not that good, and they brought in Van Jefferson, who I've heard, the rookie out of Florida, has been doing really good in camp. But, I mean, I like Higbee. I think he's really good, and I think this year will kind of be like his breakout.
Last year in his first 8 games, he never had more than 4 receptions in a game and no more than 47 yards. 1 touchdown in those 8 games. In the second half, he had 48 receptions, 542 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was an average of close to 9 receptions a game, over 100 yards. And that's actually in the last 5 games, he averaged close to 9 receptions and over 100 yards per game. So take that for what it's worth. So,
yeah.
And they like to throw.
Well, and the other thing is 2 of the 3 worst teams against the tight end were the Cardinals, who were just so terrible against him. I mean, they gave up over 15 Yahoo Fantasy points a game to the tight end positions, which was easily the worst. And then Seattle, who was 3rd worst in the league.
Wow.
Both teams are in their division.
So there you go.
So
if there's a reason to like Higbee, the defense. That's 4 games against terrible defenses against tight ends. Guys, we'll start with Mikey. Just rank these tight ends. I gave you a couple of them. I gave you 4 and just wanted you to – and we've talked about a couple of these, so we won't go through all of them. But between Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst, and Austin Hooper, rank them. Go ahead, Mikey.
Okay, so Evan Ingram I've got as my 5th. Hunter Henry I've got as my 10th. Hayden Hurst I have at 20th. And then who is our other guy?
Hooper.
Hooper. Hooper I had 4th.
So a couple guys you like, some you don't. Todd, go ahead and give me yours.
Okay, I have Ingram at number 8. I have Hunter Henry at number 12. I have Hurst at 13 and Hooper at 19.
One guy that we haven't talked about was Ingram. Todd has him 8th. Mikey, you had him 5th. We'll start with Mikey since he likes him more than anything. For a guy that, man, he just cannot stay on the field. But it looks like he's got a pretty competent quarterback that's coming back this year that may be able to throw targets his way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the only thing that hurts him is his health. And I've tried not to be the guy when I'm drafting players to, not get that in the back of my head that, oh, he's going to get injured, so I can't take him right here. On a per-game basis, he was really, really good. He's right there, over 10 points a game. And that's what you're looking for in a tight end. So I'm not going to punish him for the injuries. It may be something where if you do take him that, maybe you go out and you get another guy behind him just as a caveat. But, at his best when he is playing, he deserves to be ranked higher.
Does it help, too, the fact that really the Giants really don't have a lot of targets anyway, weapons on that team besides Barkley?
They
they
do.
have targets. It's just how do you rank those targets? I mean, with Tate and Slayton, and I always forget the third guy. Help me out here.
Fowler?
No, they've got Tate and Shepard and
Shepard. Okay.
Yeah,
and
and
Slayton.
Slayton.
Yeah, I was thinking of Shepard. So there's, and Barkley. You know, Barkley is going to
Well,
get his too. So.
Barkley's
At least I
probably
hope
Barkley's probably the number one target on that is probably the number one target. I mean, they'll in some cases they'll try to throw the ball out to Barkley more, but
Mikey, you had Hurst 20 something.
20th.
20th. Why such disdain for Hurst?
He's more of an unknown for me. That's why. Like, it's not like he was a groundbreaker in Baltimore or anything. He's coming into the Austin Hooper situation, which is why I think people are all over him, is because just the situation's so good, a team that passes a ton. But I just don't know enough about Hayden Hurst right now to where I can just say, well, he's going to come in and be Austin Hooper. That's not proven. So I don't feel comfortable ranking him that high.
Even though he's a first-round pedigree, I mean, they draft him in the first round.
There were a lot of first-round pedigree guys. Max Williams was a high guy, and you know, some
Brandon
of these guys
Pettigrew.
we saw. Yeah, Brandon Pettigrew.
I don't know how that came out of my brain, but there it was. Yeah.
That doesn't tell me anything. I need to see it on the NFL level, and there's hype for sure, and maybe they're right about it.
But 20th, like if that portrays to be true, even if the hype is maybe not all the way to hype, but if it's I don't even know how to say it, but like if any of it pans out for an offense that throws 700 times, and if their defense, we don't know how good or bad their defense is going to be. It could be better than last year, but if they throw 650 times, you got if Gurley stays on the field 100% of the time, then you have Julio and Ridley, and if you like, was it Russell Gage? Like if you like him, but I feel like there's so many targets to be had. But I guess for someone who's a Ridley guy, you figure he'll get more of the targets than Hurst.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Where do you have Hurst, Todd?
I have him 13th.
Okay.
And
I'm the high guy. I have him 7th.
I mean, and I'm just basing the fact that he's going, he's going in offense. Obviously, I mean, it was in Baltimore and they were high scoring, but that he's going to be the tight end. I think they brought him in to be that, like Mikey said, to be that Austin Hooper. So, I mean, he's going from.
Mikey says he's not coming in to be the Austin Hooper.
Well,
he said
you don't know.
You don't know. Oh, yeah, right.
So the reversal, but I'm just saying he's going from one good situation to another.
He could come in and be the Algie Crumpler.
Could be. And since 2010, Dirk Cutter's offenses have averaged just over 8 touchdowns per year. I don't know who the backup tight end is, but that's a good stat for Hurst.
Sure.
Sure. What do we think about Rob Gronkowski? Where do you have him ranked, and do you like him or you don't? I feel like there's never like an even medium. You either really like him or you really hate him. Where do you guys stand?
Well, I guess for the first shocker of the podcast, I have him 6th.
All right. Well, I mean, so you're a guy that loves him, so tell me why you love him so much.
That is Tom Brady's safety blanket. We were worrying about Tom Brady going into a new system where he's going to have to learn new plays and try to, get chemistry, create new chemistry with his teammates. They bring in Gronk, and that's pretty much that's almost like bringing in Julian Edelman. I mean, obviously, again, Tampa Bay is going to be a high-powered offense, a lot of mouths to feed. Understand that, but I think obviously with Gronk and Tom Brady, that's Tom Brady's safety blanket. Pretty much, plain and simple. And when it comes to the red zone, the red zone's going to be huge because, I mean, obviously I knew he was going to have Mike Evans, a big target to throw to, and I'm not really big on O.J. Howard. He hasn't really shown, really that, to be the top tight end in that offense. And I think bringing in Gronk, who's obviously, at a certain point has been the best tight end in football in reality and fantasy. So, I think it's a perfect situation for him. And
can you tell me what his stats were in 2019?
0.
0? Really? So you figure he's back to Gronk from when he was one of the top tight ends in the league, even though he didn't play an entire NFL season?
I think he can, especially if he was going to a different team with a brand new with a different quarterback, then I probably wouldn't have him as high. But he's going right back to Tom Brady. That's that chemistry never dies. So, I have 60 receptions, 700 yards receiving, and 9 touchdowns for Gronk.
Mikey, your thoughts on Rob Gronkowski?
Uh-oh.
Do you agree with everything, Mike, with what Todd said, or do you totally disagree?
I disagree. I actually have him 13th. So, and I could be completely off base on what I'm about to say, but I really thought about this hard, and this is what I came up with. Watching Gronkowski back when he played in 2018, he was very, like, robotic, like, as far as his movements go. Like, he just didn't move well at all, and I didn't like that. This is somebody that's gone through, like, a major back surgery. He took off a whole year. While I still think that he is still ultra talented, I'm concerned that he's not an every down tight end. That he's more of a specialist at this point. So I agree with Todd's point that in the red zone that he'll be able to be on the field and take advantage of a lot of mismatches. Maybe you'll put him out there on third down. But as far as being an every down guy, I don't think so, and I don't think they'll have to, given that they still have O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate.
In the last year that Gronk played in 2018, he played in 13 games, which is not bad considering how beat up he was, but he only had 47 receptions, 682 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So his last decent year, and 2017 was a good year, 69 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That was a long time ago. That might be tough. I had him 14th, but I don't know. His touchdowns the last 5 years were 0 because he didn't play, 3, then he had 8, then he had 3, and then he had 11. So
yeah. So if he's going to get there and be a top 10
it's
guy,
going to be through the touchdown. It's going to be the Mark Andrews route. I still don't think he'll have that many receptions, but I guess the touchdowns could be high. Give me one guy, give me one tight end outside your top 10 that could end up jumping into the top 10 and maybe making a difference. We'll start with Mikey.
Ooh, this is going to be another injury risk guy, but we're talking about a guy that can sneak up there. It's Greg Olsen.
Get out, really?
Oh.
Interesting. Yeah, all right, let me have it.
Every year we go through this with Seattle. If there's one thing that I know is that Russell Wilson loves the middle of the field. He loves tight ends. We see this happen with, these Jacob Hollisters and these Will Dissly type guys that have these big breakout weeks all the time because that Russell Wilson loves utilizing that middle of the field. So, yeah, I think Greg Olsen is going to be a perfect fit there. And I think if he stays healthy, which is a huge if, this is a guy that's had concussion issues, knee problems, you name it. But he's a guy that I think, if healthy, can jump in there.
Okay.
Yeah, last year he started 14 games, had 82 targets with Carolina, 52 receptions, close to 600 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In previous years, he played 9 games and then he played 7 games. So he's definitely dealt with a lot. He's going to be 35, I think, this year. So, but I like that call. That's a good call. Todd, what about you? Give me a guy that's outside your top 10 that could jump in the top 10 and maybe do some damage.
All right. Well, I said it probably has one of the best names in football, but Mr. Jack Doyle. Obviously, with having Phillip Rivers now in Indianapolis, and one thing that Phillip Rivers liked doing was throwing to his tight ends. Again, was kind of like one of his kind of safety blankets. Him and Antonio Gates for years on end. Touchdowns left and right. So I think, Jack Doyle can move. I have Jack Doyle number 11, so just right outside the top 10, so not as far down as where Mikey had Olsen. But I think Jack Doyle definitely could be a top 10. Could move into the top 10 for tight ends.
I like that. That's a good call. That was actually the guy I had. So
all right.
Well done. We'll give Todd some points for that. But I agree.
Yeah.
Especially in a Frank Reich system, they've been no worse than 11th, at least under the Frank Reich era, in terms of tight end routes for tight ends, fantasy points to tight ends, and targets to tight ends. So that's something a good call. Okay. Anything else we want to say about tight ends? Is there anybody else that we didn't get to talk about? You guys Noah Fant fans, to at least to those Bronco fans out there. Anybody like Noah Fant? I have him ranked 15th, so. I don't hate him.
I have him in the top 10, but I'm just basing that more on how how the Broncos offense might turn out to be, just because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I got him 18th, so I guess I'm lower than you guys, but it's more that I think the volume goes through Judy and Sutton.
Oh, we know what you're saying.
And when they get in the red zone, I think that Alberto is going to play a role in that too, so he may get touchdown sniped from another tight end.
One tight end I want to ask you guys about, and then we'll move on, but shouldn't Eric Ebron be close to like a top 12 guy? Like, Big Ben likes the tight ends in the red zone.
That wasn't the tight end I were hoping we were going to talk about, but okay, we'll talk Ebron.
Well, we could talk about the other guy too, but I wasn't even going to make a big stink about it. But for a guy that has a knack for the red zone, he only scored 3 touchdowns last year. But
I called that one last year too.
You did. But he was also dealing with an ankle injury last year. But I mean, he's a guy that could get 10 touchdowns, and I wouldn't think much about it. He may not get a lot of receptions. But
yeah, he is. Vance McDonald's still there though too in Pittsburgh. So
but he's also injury prone.
Yeah, you just don't know who's going to have that role. Yeah. They're not a team that plays a lot of 2 tight ends, so I mean somebody's going to get it. You just don't know which one.
Who do you want me to talk about?
Another sleeper guy I had was T.J. Hawkinson.
Okay. Yeah, I've been hearing some things that he's been doing well in training camp or whatever we're calling this camp these days. But give me why do you like him?
He was good before he got hurt, and then Stafford got hurt. So I think it kind of stunted his development. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was a top 10 pick, and
weren't you just shitting on first-round tight ends?
This guy was a top 10 pick, like who was a monster in college. That showed some stuff in the beginning of the season before injuries got to him and his quarterback. So he's just a guy I'm keeping an eye on because I think that there could be something there.
I like that. That's good stuff.
But he played on the same team with Noah Fant. So basically, okay, here's a good. Would you take Hawkinson or Noah Fant?
Well, I have Hawkinson higher in my rankings. I have Hawkinson at 14th, Fant at 18.
All right, so that's 4. Okay. But so basically you would take Hawkinson over Fant basically.
I would.
Okay.
He's higher in my rankings.
Okay.
Last year Hawkinson played in 12 games, started 7, 59 targets, 32 catches for 367 yards, averaged close to 12 yards per route, 2 touchdowns, and he's first round pedigree for whatever that's worth. Mikey crapped on my statement about that earlier, but that's okay. Let's talk about some bold predictions. You guys have some bold predictions for me, and they could just be Mikey, are you excited to hear Todd's? Is that what that face was?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I mean, the one I already gave that Gronk will be a top 10 tight end.
I wouldn't count that bold though.
But just
like if you said he'd be a top 3, that's bold.
You know, that's not
like
bold.
I think a lot of people are gonna like Gronk because they don't like the pedigree of the other guys, or at least in terms of what a tight end usually gets you. Like if you figure the average outside of the top guys,
okay,
the average, what do you expect from a tight end on game day? Like 3 to 4, 5 catches, maybe 50 yards. You hope for that touchdown, and so Gronk has that such appeal to him that I think I bet you he gets drafted as a top 10 tight end in our league this year.
Because obviously, just your point, the fact that since he didn't play last year,
but that's me. I'm not drafting him in the top 10.
Well, no,
not even my top 12. But I think someone else will see that he may offer more than a Jack Doyle.
Okay.
Because he's done it before, and he's got that name value to him. So I could see that happening.
Okay.
So while he thinks of another one,
all right,
go ahead.
Okay. I got kind of 2 of them. I'll go with my first one. While he thinks
and I have a couple too, so we'll go around.
Okay.
So my first one is that the running back that finishes with more fantasy points on the Broncos is going to be Phillip Lindsay.
No kidding. Wow. Is this because Melvin Gordon's not practicing as much? I don't know. Has he practiced at all this week?
He has limited, but I feel like Lindsay's had a good camp. Melvin Gordon, like I said, every year, like you're just waiting for it to happen, and it's going to happen at some point. He's going to get
Seems
hurt.
like he's hobbled now.
And Lindsay's, the dude's always had a chip on his shoulder, but it seems like
it's just going to add to that.
Yeah,
chip.
it just seems like it's even bigger now that they brought in, Melvin Gordon, and he's playing for a contract is what he's playing. This is a guy that went to a Pro Bowl, rushed for 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons. It's now an offense that should be better. I know money's one thing. They gave it to Gordon, but it'd be hard for me to imagine that if Lindsey got the opportunity and played better, they wouldn't stick with the hot hand.
I like that. That's a good, bold prediction that Lindsey will have more than Melvin Gordon. So it'd be, I mean, just that value of drafting Philip Lindsey late in the draft, and Gordon's probably going to go in the 3rd, maybe 4th round. So I like that one. One that I have is DK Metcalf finishes as a top 10 wide receiver. Just the offense, they threw the 10 most in the NFL last year. Chris Carson's been known to get injured. And Disley, and you talked about Greg Olsen. Are they game changers? No, probably not. And maybe he takes his game up even past where Lockett is right now. So it's just a bold prediction that he could finish as a top 10 wide receiver. Is that just ridiculous?
No,
No.
you know,
Bold
receivers
prediction.
receivers
that's
in
what they
their
are.
second year always kind of take a step up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's completely possible. I just don't know that Seattle throws enough to make it possible, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it could.
And bold predictions are less than 50%. So,
True.
Todd, do you have another one?
Yeah, Drew Lock will finish in the top 5 in quarterback scoring.
That's bold. That's bold. That's putting your nuts on the table right there.
Hey, you know,
Now, is it because of? Tell me what is it because of his offensive weapons? Do you feel that he just has that in him that he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes?
I think those 5 games last year just
That's all he needed, right?
that's
5
all.
games. That's it.
That's it.
Super Bowl MVP next year or this year?
Sure, why not? Sure, why not? Am I putting my nuts and balls on the table? Then why not?
Mike, you said you had another one.
Yeah, so here's my other one.
Mm.
Now, the Drew Lock thing's kind of crazy, but hey, go Broncos.
Damn right.
I have Joe Burrow finishing as a top 10 guy.
Ooh.
There you go. That's bold.
4,000 yards, 25-plus touchdowns this year for Joe
So
Burrow.
A.J. Green's going to come back in full force, and
Tyler
that
Boyd.
Joe Mixon's
Tyler
going to
Boyd,
just tear it
T.
up. T.
Higgins.
Higgins.
Maybe John Ross stays healthy.
Oh.
Well,
They have a lot of weapons. And the more and more I'm looking at Cincinnati, I hope I'm not being fooled, but I think they may be better than people think.
Wow. All right. I like that. That's not bad. I had one. I have like 3 more, but I'll just go with one more. Which one's the more crazy one? How about Tevin Coleman finishes as a top 20 running back? Is that not bold enough? I was just thinking because, this is what we talked about in the running back, is Mostert hasn't done it. He hasn't. Can he take a full load or even half a full load? We haven't really seen it yet.
Coleman has done that.
Sure, and he's a better goal line back. He was incredible versus Minnesota in that playoff game. Obviously, there were those wide receivers can't stay healthy. Well, they have 3 injured wide receivers right now, so he could overtake Mostert if Mostert, whether he gets hurt or just can't handle the workload. Maybe Tevin Coleman steps in and finishes as a top 20 running back.
Certainly possible. I mean, 49ers like to shift around their backs. They're
Yeah.
another one that
They play the hot hand a
Yeah.
lot. Anything else? Anybody have any other bold
Yeah.
predictions? I'll just throw these ones out real quick. I had Deshaun Watson finishes outside the top 15 in quarterback points, and Phillip Rivers could finish as a top 10 quarterback. Maybe they weren't bold enough. I don't know. Maybe I should have went out a little bit crazier.
I like the Watson one just because knowing how much like hype around Watson is that could
Watson
add,
is going to be either super incredible
or
just
bad.
terrible.
or he's
Terrible.
going to get hurt because his
Yeah.
offensive line's terrible.
Yeah.
except for Tunzel. That's about it.
Next thing we'll talk about, and we're running up against it pretty quick already, but in terms of board bets. So board bets I think it's something we're going to kind of keep track of through the year, is just something I don't agree with Mikey or I don't agree with Todd, and we keep track of it, and then we tally up the points, and then I don't know if we do a prize or something at the end of the year. But any board bets that you guys think about that maybe it's you like or something that you don't like of mine? What do you guys got? Anything?
So here's one. I don't know if there's any takers, but I say Zach Ertz finishes ahead of Kelsey.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to take that board bet. With Dallas Goedert there, and their wide receivers has got to get healthy at some point, right?
Yeah.
So that's I don't think he gets enough targets to reach Kelsey. I understand Kelsey, you kind of talked about the tough schedule. So I would say that Kelsey finishes over Ertz. Do you want to be a part of that board bet? You don't have to be a part of the board bet.
No.
Okay, so we'll take that one. So
All right.
Mikey says that Ertz is going to have more fantasy points than Travis Kelsey. All right, what else we got out there?
I got an interesting one. Aaron Jones will have more touchdowns than
Aaron Jones of last year?
I'd say have more. Ooh, this one might be a bold one too, but I'll have more touchdowns than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah,
that one all day long.
I'll have to take that too.
You take that one? Okay.
So you're throwing that up there?
I'm throwing that one
All
up
right,
there.
so Todd says that Aaron Jones, I can't believe he's going to take Aaron Jones in the first round. Aaron Jones more TDs than
Christian
McCaffrey. Okay.
So McCaffrey had 15 last year, and Aaron Jones had 16.
All right, so this is a board bet I had.
Okay.
And this is more towards Mikey, but you obviously can get involved.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos won't have one wide receiver in the top 22. And Mikey says he's going to have two. So it's got to be one or the other. So if one gets it, it's a push. But
Wait, but you're saying not one, so.
But but right, I'm saying not one, and you're saying two. So if one gets in there, then it's more of a push.
Okay.
Is that the wrong? That could be the wrong thought of logic.
No.
Because I'm saying none get in there.
Yeah, you're saying.
Yeah, so we probably shouldn't do a push thing. But I say 0 Broncos in the top 22 in terms of our fantasy wide receiver point scoring, and you say 2. What do you think? Do you want to get in on this one?
I'll go on Mikey on this one.
What? You're gonna take Mikey's side? Oh my gosh!
It's a homer pick.
That is a very.
I mean, he has Drew Lock finishing in the
yeah,
top five,
I guess that at least that's consistent with what he's saying, right? Anybody have anything else? And we'll create more as we go along too. So like maybe after the first week or 2 weeks or whatever.
This is the first time we might not have one with Derrick Henry involved.
I'm sure that'll happen. Maybe after the first week when he runs for 300 yards on the Broncos on Monday night. How about this one, Todd? Because I know you're big on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won't finish as a top 12 quarterback.
Oh, he's going to finish as a top 12 quarterback.
So we want to take that one then?
I'll take that one.
Okay. So Eric says not top 12. Todd says yes. Mikey, you want to get in on this one?
No, and only because I'm trying to remember my rankings, but I believe I had Rodgers probably right around that area.
Okay, so it's a little too close
12,
for
13 maybe, so.
Cool. Well, we'll do some more board bets as we go along, and as we do more shows. Mikey and I, and I haven't really talked with Todd, but where there's talks of maybe doing a weekly show, but we would do it online.
That's fine.
So, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so while we're over an hour, we're still going to get through this mock draft, which I think is going to be super important for those that if they listen to the show before the draft, kudos to them, man, because they're going to get some good information here. All right, so the way we did this draft is Todd first, Mikey second, me third, and then we just kind of go round and round. But in the second round, we're going to match up our picks. So if I pick 12th, then I'll have the 13th pick, so I can kind of base it on who I drafted in round one. Does that make sense to you guys? That's kind of how the way I drew it up here.
Okay.
All right, so Todd's going to be first. So, Todd, who's your first pick?
Christian McCaffrey.
Feel confident that he's going to kind of do what he did. What was that, Mikey?
I was going to say, that's the smartest thing you've said all day.
Woo! Watch out.
I know. I have my moments, Mikey. No, I mean,
he's two guys in one.
Yeah, basically. He's your running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense.
All right, calm down. You're not getting kicker points out of him.
I know.
But you are getting like a wide receiver and a running back.
All in
That's
one.
pretty impressive.
Yep.
All right, Mikey, who do you got at number 2?
All right, I've got Saquon Barkley, number 2.
Can he get – he had 90 catches a couple years ago. Can he get to 90 again?
I think there's potential for that. I mean, I was fighting, him and Ezekiel Elliott but I think that Barkley's like more of the game breaker, which is why I went him, and he's going to get the more reception. So, like, Barkley could build up a bigger floor. So as long as he's healthy, I think that's kind of an advantage swinging towards his end.
At third pick, I'm going to take Zeke. In an offense, he's going to get the goal line carries. He's been pretty durable for the most part. He's a guy that can. He's probably not going to get the 70 catches he had a couple of years ago, but he can still get 50 in that offense. For someone who's got the second overall pick, and assuming McCaffrey goes first, I thought about taking Zeke over Barkley, but Barkley, man, has just such an ability to not that Zeke's not a game changer, but Barkley has that. He could be a McCaffrey light more than Zeke can. All right, Todd, who do you at number 4?
I got Alvin Kamara. Obviously, like I said, it's in another high-powered offense. Runs, catches. Again, another player that's a running back and a wide receiver, kind of into.
He's a guy that's not going to get 1,000 yards rushing anymore. I don't think though.
Well, yeah, I mean, close
the
to it.
The catches will be elite.
Yeah.
But I think he's more of the 700 to maybe 800 yards rushing as opposed to a 1,000-yard guy.
But if you can get a good
but I mean,
split.
still.
If you can get the thing is, too, is with certain players, if you can get a good split, that's always the thing, too, because you never want one thing to be, one-sided kind of thing, where one side is being, like where the catches are being, are being neglected, but the rushes are high. You want a good split if you can help it.
So far, McCaffrey, Barkley, Zeke, Kamara, Mikey, number 5.
This was tough. It really was.
Really? I thought for sure.
I was kind of glad that you went Alvin Kamara there because, I mean, I do think it's risky at number 4.
Yeah,
So
you've been a Cook
but
guy for a while.
That is where I'm going. So I am going Dalvin Cook, but I fought this one a little bit. He does, from time to time. What's concerning me with him is this kind of contract situation.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Like, I know what his talent is. That system is perfect for him. So I think that in that spot you almost have to do it. But yeah, I just don't know. Like, something in my gut tells me that I don't know.
Just keep an eye out for it, for sure. Dalvin Cook, folks. Mikey's not sure. All right, so at number 6, this is where Michael Thomas comes off the board. Michael Thomas, well, he probably won't get 281 points like he did last year. The next guy was 207. So even if he regresses 40 points, he's still quite a bit heads and tails above the second-ranked guy who was DeAndre Hopkins last year. So I'm happy to take Michael Thomas at that spot. All right, Todd, you're at number 7.
Well, it happens to be my pick, too. My actual pick. So.
Well, there you go. So this is a real-life opportunity. Is this going to be Aaron Jones?
It's going to be Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Now, we know why he likes him. Is he nuts? Tell me why he's nuts.
Well, based on last year's production, it doesn't make him nuts because, the guy had so many touchdowns last year. However, I think where you are nuts is that you're potentially taking a guy that, while it's not 100%, there is a possibility that's probably 50-50 whether or not you can get him in round 2.
Yes, that was one of my reasons, behind it, knowing like, is he going to really be there in the second round?
Right, it's 50-50.
It really is 50-50, and in some cases, I just didn't want to take that chance.
Right, and if you love a guy, you love a guy, so I can't blame you for that.
Okay, so McCaffrey, we're in the first round here. McCaffrey, Barkley, Zeke, Kamara, Cook, Thomas, and then Aaron Jones. Mikey at number 8.
Okay, I'm going to go Devontae Adams here.
Over Derrick Henry?
Yes. Okay, so
Mikey, it's time to right the wrongs.
It is time to right the wrongs. I think Derrick Henry's a good player, and he was a monster at the end of last year, and he's going to get his carries and all that.
He's got the Broncos week 1, by the way.
He does. Hey, the Broncos shut him down last year, by the way.
Yeah,
I thought he ran for 225 yards.
No, he didn't.
Are you sure?
Leonard Fournette did against the Broncos.
Oh, Fournette.
Derrick Henry.
My mistake.
Derrick Henry, I think, had under 30 yards against us.
Okay.
He didn't do nothing. I'm just going to take the guy that I believe more in.
Okay.
And that's Adams, who's a touchdown machine in that offense. Top receiver's already off the board. I'm going to go Adams here.
I just like watching Packer games for someone who obviously I was kind of out of it, I guess, kind of towards the year, but they just get him the ball no matter what. Whether he's double teamed or not, they just do a good job finding him, and they force feed him the ball. So it's kind of cool to kind of watch that. Number 9, my next guy is Derrick Henry. While he's not going to be a guy that's going to get you a lot of catches, he's going to get all the totes. Totes, feed that man. Get him that touchdowns. I still don't think they're going to throw a ton, even with the emergence of A.J. Brown last year. Man, Derrick Henry, Sign me up for number 9. So Todd at number 10.
I'll go with the rookie, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
All right, interesting.
Now, obviously, when I sent that screenshot of that tweet that there might be a 50-50 split, but I think he's shown enough so far in training camp so far, and I think obviously of all years, really teams are looking at their college tape, and he was a beast in college, and I think that's gonna carry over. Into the pros. And I think even if there is a 50-50 split, it's going to be a very minor 50-50 split where it may not even affect his carries or his catches. So that's where I go with that.
So Mikey at number 11.
Number 11, I'm going Julio Jones.
Julio.
Here's the thing with the first-round pick.
You love Calvin Ridley, though.
I do, but here's the thing with your first-round pick. When you're drafted in the first round, you don't want your pick to fail. Like, this is supposed to be like your
Tell me about it.
Guy that you can count on. So like other guys that are in that mix, like a Joe Mixon, could that fail? Sure. Nick Chubb could fail? Sure. Julio, I don't think anybody that's ever drafted him has been like super disappointed in his performance. Like, he's in an offense that's going to throw the ball a ton. Like, maybe the one knock against him is that his touchdowns are never like double digits, but so what? I mean, the guy still runs up 150 plus targets every single season, and he's always a guy that's dangerous enough to get 1,500 plus yards. So, yeah, I mean that's
pretty good at number 11.
It's the safest of picks at that spot.
Would you take him over Clyde Edwards-Helaire? If it was you, just
so you're playing a game with this because, like again, I said there's a big chance that Clyde Edwards-Helaire he's either one of two things: either he's going to be drafted way too early, or he's going to be well worth the risk, where he's just incredible. Looking at next year, he's going to be top 3 guy. So you're either on one end of the spectrum or you're on the other. It's a risk.
It's a risk.
Is it the same thing? Just go. Like, maybe this is comparing apples to oranges, but with Saquon and there wasn't as much risk with Saquon going in the first round.
No, you knew what Saquon's role was going to be. He was going to be the every down guy going in.
Okay.
You knew what he did in college. Edwards-Helaire, you don't know that he's that 3-down guy in Kansas City. They're already talking about him and Darrell Williams can split carries in week 1. Look, he's better than Darrell Williams. That's not even the question. It's just what kind of volume is he going to see to make it worth it?
Okay.
So in the last pick of the first round, I'm actually going to go back-to-back running backs here. I'll take Kenyon Drake to end the first round, and then we'll go with Miles Sanders to start the second round. I feel good about that, going back-to-back running backs. Both these guys can catch balls. We'll see. That offensive line in Philly continues to fall apart, so that's a little scary. But even then, if Wentz can manage the season, Sanders is a good outlet. Ertz will be the number 1 target, and then Sanders will be number 2. We'll see when Alshon Jeffrey gets back because Wentz has kind of an affinity for him. But to go Drake and Sanders, a couple guys that can get 50-plus catches, we're all rushing close to 1,000 yards. I like that a lot. It's 14, second pick of the second round, back to Mikey. That team has Julio in the first round.
Yeah, so I'm taking George Kittle here in the second round.
So a couple of decent pass catchers and Kittle.
Number 1 tight end off my board. We kind of already talked about, his potential. He's got the good schedule. In that offense, which is heavy on tight end, I think this is where is a good spot to take him.
All right, so tied at number 15, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was this team's first pick.
I will go with DeAndre Hopkins. Probably the number 1 target now in Arizona. Nice big target for Kyler Murray. Obviously put up top 10 numbers, or top 5 numbers in Houston. So no brainer there.
Hopkins in a new place doesn't seem to scare too many people. I guess there's a little. I don't know what's the word. There's a little buffer for him that pushes him out of the first round. Do you think he'd still be in the first if he was still with Watson? Anybody can answer.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think he'd still be in the first round, too. So to me, in the second round, I picked Derrick Henry with this team. In the first round, from a guy that doesn't really catch a lot of passes to a guy that's what he does best is Austin Eckler, a guy who different quarterback. You don't know what really to expect, but if anything, he's a guy that works hard. He came from Division II. And I think he's going to be a guy that can catch somewhere between 80 and 90 passes. I don't think he'll run for more than 800 yards, but for a guy that's probably going to get all the touchdowns, especially if you're down on Keenan Allen, he'll be that guy that'll be close to double-digit touchdowns. So back to Mikey, who had Devontae Adams in the first round with this team.
Going to take Tyreek Hill. Get another game breaker in there. A guy that maybe doesn't have the kind of volume as far as receptions go, but I mean, the guy's a threat to score a touchdown on every play.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, it's just a monster. While he's missed games here and there, his points per game is just incredible. It's amazing to watch. Just watch what he does. I've never really had him, at least not for a while. And then just looking at his box scores is pretty incredible. All right, back to you, Todd. You had Aaron Jones. This is actually a kind of a real-life pick for you because you're picking at this spot. You have Aaron Jones in the first, so you take him with the second.
I'm going with another running back, Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. Disgusting. But obviously he's the number one back there, and obviously he had a really good rookie season, and I think he can follow it up with another great season, and obviously having another workhorse back. There's really nobody really behind him that I'm worried about. He does catch the ball. He does do a decent job of catching the ball out the backfield, but he does get a lot of volume and carries, and that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, great offensive line. I think if he could catch some more passes, he'd be even more valuable. He's still only in his second year, so there's still room for improvement. So this goes back to me. This is where I picked Michael Thomas in the first round. Part of me wants to go Kelsey, but I want to get that running back. So I'm going to go Nick Chubb. And I know there's a lot of hubbub about what Kareem Hunt's going to come in and do and steal a lot of his carries. This dude's an incredible playmaker. What are you laughing about?
Hubbub about Chubb.
There you go. I just planned these out before I come on the show. But I like, Chubb, point per game, what he does out there. He's so athletic. He's so quick. He can turn something into nothing. I love watching this guy play. So I thought about Kelsey. For having a wide receiver in the first round, I want to get that running back in the second round. So to Mikey here at pick 20 in the second round. This is where he had Dalvin Cook in the first round. Who are you going in the second?
So I will take Kelsey at this spot.
This will be the Kelsey spot?
This will be the Kelsey spot. Maybe not necessarily what I would really do in that spot because, as I told you, my bold prediction, I had Ertz over Kelsey, or maybe that was a board bet. But I think based on value here, I'm taking Kelsey, who has been number one tight end for the last 4 or 5 years.
Thank you. I was just going to say that stat. Well done. Mikey reads me like a book. All right, so back to Todd. 21st pick. Kamara was the pick in the first round.
I will go Chris Godwin. Probably Tom Brady's number one target that he's going to throw the ball to. Obviously, the way that Bucs offense is going to be this year. I mean, obviously, Godwin put up great numbers with Jameis Winston. I said throwing 5 picks a second in that offense. So I'll go Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. Are we nervous that he's going to have some sort of regression this year? And you guys are not the guys that should probably be asking that question, considering how much you love Tom Brady and Evans and Godwin. But
maybe just given that, he had so much that he had to do last year, especially towards the end when Evans was hurt. So I mean, if Evans is healthy, and now they have Gronk, maybe
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I say Leonard Fournette.
If you believe he's going to catch it,
maybe he doesn't have to do as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So back to me at 22. I had Zeke in the first round. I have 2 running backs rated on my next kind of top 24 rankings, but I'm going to go with my next wide receiver since I went with Zeke, and I like Zeke, and he's a stud, and I'm going to get incredible numbers from him. I'm going to go with Juju. Here as a guy who's going to rebound. He's going to have Big Ben. I've been hearing great things in terms of Big Ben being great in camp so far. Juju was a first-round pick last year, and he has the ability. He's only like 23 years old and has done incredible things in his first few years. So I like him to kind of have a rebound season, and to pair him up with Zeke is pretty cool. And Juju could finish as a first-round pick next year if things go well. To Mikey, who had Barkley here.
I'm going to go with Joe Mixon.
Okay.
Coming fresh off of a new deal that he just got. Kind of explained a little bit ago that I think that Cincinnati's offense may be a little bit underrated. Mixon was a workhorse last year. So I think in this improved offense, I think he has a chance to be a pretty good player this year.
He's one of those guys I just wish was on a better team. Now they could be better this year, but man, he's got such ability. Like he can cut, he can move, he can catch. If he just played on a better team, he'd be a first-round pick. All right, Todd, to finish things off here, to round out the 2 rounds, you had McCaffrey in the first. Who are we going with at number 24?
I will go, and this might be a little bit of a reach, but I think he is going to be in a new place. But David Johnson.
Whew.
I mean, that might be a reach.
I think he hurt himself on that reach.
Yeah, I think so. But no, I think obviously in a new place. I mean, is he going to be David Johnson of old?
No.
Shut up. You know, if he can just be close to that, I'll take 70-80% of David Johnson before. If he was at a 90 and to 100, but if he can be 70 to 80, that's pretty good. So
that's going to be a tough one.
That's a little risky. That high
that
for
should
me.
have been a bold prediction right there. All right, guys. Well, that's the show, really. Draft. By the time I'll probably edit this tomorrow morning, so they'll have less than 24 hours to listen to it. Let me ask you, just being honest, did you put out your top 24, or did you hold back a little bit in revealing? I held back.
I maybe did a little bit.
Not a lot, but there's probably 1 or 2 guys I probably wouldn't show my hand right now.
I mean, obviously, I told
Todd
you.
doesn't even know. Do you even know when the draft's going to be? Do you know what time? Do I have to pick you up?
Funny. No, obviously, I mean, I kind of tilted my hand who my first pick's going to be, but
that is interesting. I mean, that Mikey said you just never know what you're going to get.
But
we got it before the draft even started.
But I mean, that's the only one I really revealed.
Well, I mean, honestly, I like Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd take him at that spot, but I mean, if you figure he's going to do the same stuff, then you have to take him there, right? Because I mean, was he 2nd overall in our league in terms of points scored behind McCaffrey? So yeah, can't hate you for it. It's different, but that's what this draft's about. How much? This will be the last question. How soon do you reach for a guy that you like? Is it 1 round, 2 rounds? If you like him, you like him. Like if you knew. Now, Mikey's in a different position because he's in the middle of the draft. I'm at one end of the draft at the number 2 overall pick. So if there's a guy I like, I have to reach for him. But how soon do you reach for a guy?
So for like me, if I think it's less than 50 that I'm going to not be able to get that guy in the next round, like if it's, I'll say 3rd round and under, then it's okay. Like, I mean, if you love a guy that much, take your shot and hope you're right.
True.
Yeah. I missed out on Aaron Jones, and it proved to be deadly. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the MHA podcast. I want to thank the guys for coming along and eating some pizza, and then a couple days we'll eat some hot dogs and some brats and get to it. The 19th MHA draft.
We've
been around a long time. So hopefully you tuned in. Good luck at the draft.